Hi everyone. Okay, so I've had a few emails and comments asking whether I've finished my Sega Neptune replica case, and this week I did. I've been putting it off. Well, not putting it off. This thing's taken a few years now to finish because I've burnt myself out on certain parts and hit some bumps in the road with it, and kind of went one way with the internal mod, and it didn't work. Got other projects on the go, just general life stuff. But this week I decided just to get it all buttoned up and finished off. So now I'm making a quick video on it because I've looked around on the internet and stuff, and I think it's the only replica anyone's made so far. So yeah, because of that, I was quite proud of that. I wanted to actually get it finished off. So here it is. First thing you'll probably notice is, well, I'm English in the UK, so I've made it a PAL version of a Neptune. There's the two sort of empty cases, I guess they are, that I have seen, and this is obviously based off our Genesis ones, but again, I'm from the UK, so I've got a PAL game, so I've made it a PAL Neptune. Right, have a sort of pan around. You can see I've tried to get in all of the details that I could from the few photos there were on the internet. So it's got its upturned wing side, slight dome there, weird scoopy bit around the back, and the middle raised area. Still has its Mega CD expandability for the sort of CD32 games. Don't really know much to say about it. I've taken lots of photos, they'll be on my blog. One thing that isn't fairly accurate with this is the back, because when I started sculpting the case, there weren't any rear photos, but a Russian guy, I think he is, went to a computer show and saw one of the prototype cases in real life and took a photo of the back. So the back of mine is just the Megadrive 2, because I've basically finished doing all of the sculpting. It took me so long to get there, and I'd painted it so many times. I then saw the back, which has the power here and the AV there, and some sort of weird dots and stuff in the middle. I saw that, but I'd already finished. I'd taken so long, I've left it as is, because I would have to do some sort of moving of the AV port over here, filling all this in, doing more sculpting. I'd had enough of sculpting by then. As some people will know who followed along on my blog, it has taken a long time. So anyway, what I did when I started looking into the Neptune case was compared it to Megadrive 2 cases, and to me, because I've seen the bottom of, obviously if you look on the internet you'll see the bottom of the Neptune, it is like that. It's got the Megadrive 2 square case at the bottom, and it's just rounded off at the ends. There was a vertical view of the Neptune, and I compared that to a vertical view of a Megadrive 2, and the cart slot looked the same. The controller ports are in the same place, so I based it completely off that. And to be honest, I think that is what the dimensions are. It's lower, possibly, I don't know, in this bump area, but it's hard to tell from the photos. So I think I've got fairly close, actually. I am very pleased with it. One thing that is very different with the Megadrive 2 layout is the Megadrive 2's buttons are here, where obviously the Neptunes, when you look at the photos, they're further back. So basically what I had to do, there's been a lot of cutting areas out of this case, repositioning them using modelling putty and stuff like that to smooth everything back down. I chopped the buttons out, filled all this in, moved the buttons back, angled them to represent the Neptune's button positions, and refitted them. So these are actually working buttons. This one's a little stiff, but it does work. I'll show you that in a minute. Take that out, and it is a bit dusty. It does actually have a Neptune mod in it. Disclaimer, the actual 32X that's in it is dead. I don't know if I got it dead or not. I tried this, I started learning soldering by trying to do the Neptune mod, and I may have buggered it up, I don't know. But the price of 32Xs has skyrocketed. I talk about that on the next part of the video. So what I've done is I've used my 32X to make sure everything fits. And what you can see, the one thing I couldn't get in are the cartridge dust flaps, because the tuck under sort of technique for putting these Neptunes together raises the cartridge port too much, and there's just nowhere for the flaps to move down, so I've had to leave them out. I thought I'd be able to come up with some kind of clever way of doing them, but no, all my ideas sort of haven't worked. But I think it's pretty cool as it is. It is a shame the flaps aren't there, but when it's got an actual 32X sitting on top of the Megadrive 2 motherboard, the height just doesn't allow it. So yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, I had to use the tuck under technique rather than Longhorn Engineer's original 32X, original Neptune mod, which had the underboard, the sort of vertical board of the 32X coming out this way. Then he soldered wires and then folded them back underneath. That moved, that came too far down. It was encroaching over the buttons and it just wouldn't work. There was just no space, so it had to be the tuck under technique. Tuck under the way of doing it to clear these buttons. You will see that on the internal part of this sort of video. So yeah, let's see. As you can see, yeah, it's, I don't really know what else to say. This is it. It's a real shame. I'm very gutted that the price of 32Xs has gone up so much that this currently isn't a working Neptune, because it would actually be possibly the only working Neptune replica, full replica about. One day I'll get a 32X and it will be that, but I may have to wait for the sort of collecting boom to go down again, I don't know. Anyway, what I will do now is show that it does work. It powers on. I know the Megadrive works because I tested all that, and where the red LED is in there. Move over to here. There you go. I couldn't tell on the photos whether this was a clear lens or whether it was a tinted black lens, but I've tinted it black just because when you see straight through, it's a bit of, you know, there's hot glue in there and wires about, but just also shows that the buttons work. And the overall case has a matte satin finish with the buttons are gloss. That's based off the images I've seen on the internet as well. So okay, yeah, so onto the internal part of the video, I guess. Hope you like the case that I've made. I say it is as close as I could possibly get, only the rear is different again. I saw those photos came out after I'd finished doing all the sculpting, and it would have been major rework to add it in. But yeah, I'm really happy with it, and so far, well, at the moment it's just going to be a bit of a shelf queen. When I get 32X to put in it that will work, it will be used then. So yeah, onto what the inside of it looks like. Catch you later. Excuse me. Here we are. I've taken the outer shell off, which you will have seen hopefully if I edit this correctly. And I thought I'd show you the inside of the Neptune. If you've been following along on my blog for the last few years, where I've been on and off making this thing, you'll have seen that there's various things I've had to do because the casing of the Neptune, its buttons are further up the motherboard than on a Megadrive 2, which I'm pretty sure the case is based off from looking at the prototype pictures for so long. That's a bit of a side tangent. I'll just ignore that. Anyway, the buttons on this was an original Megadrive 2 case. The buttons are down here. I've obviously smoothed them out. So I've had to move the switches back by about an inch, maybe a bit more. As you can see, I unsoldered. It's not the nicest job. I did this years ago. And wired the reset switch to the points here, and it's all hot glued so that it's held in place because of the buttons jabbing away at it. And again, the power switch, this was the most awkward to do because if you can see here, it's on a slight angle to go with the angle of the buttons on the Neptune. I had to move some of these capacitors, and again, this is wiring running here. Excuse my dog barking away there. So yeah, you have to, for it all to work, you have to move the buttons at least an inch back. And again, the LED, I've wired an LED up to a capacitor up there, so that it will shine through this new plastic plating. So, the 32X, the thing I've done differently with this, compared to other Neptune mods, is I've made it modular. Normally you would desolder the power and the two video ports and hardwire, excuse me, I need to change my position, hardwire the power and the video to the Megadrive motherboard. But because 32Xs have, since I think I missed the chance to get a 32X cheap. It seemed that when I started looking into the Neptune and wanting to make one was the end of when you could get one at a reasonable price. Now they're, I don't know, 70 quid, £100 for just loose ones. So if I ever do have any spare cash, not that I think I will now, to buy a 32X, I don't want to be desoldering it and messing about with it. So I've made the this Neptune, well, set the Megadrive up in a modular way. You can see here, this one is not heat shrinked finished because I can't test the video out because this 32X is dead and I have no idea how to fix it. So I've just basically used it for checking my all the spacings out and whether the height will work with the case, things like that. Here you see the power cable is wired to the bottom as you would normally, but rather than this just being soldered to this point here, I've made a connection to it. There you go. So new 32X goes in and gets wired into gets plugged in. So I think that's quite neat. A lot of people don't do that. Also, that's just these connectors here. I desoldered the cartridge slot off the Megadrive 2, and rather than sort of binning that and just soldering from the bottom, from the edge connector to the board, I soldered the cartridge slot with these extended wires, excuse me, to the motherboard. So now, I won't show you, this is all screwed in. Basically you're just plugging this in. You're not soldering, there's no sort of destroying of a 32X. You just take it apart, plug it into here, plug these in, screw it down, and Bob's your uncle. So yeah, it's completely modular, and say for the price of 32Xs, I certainly wanted to make it safer for the 32X, which wouldn't destroy it. So I'm not. Most people don't do this, so I don't know if this is. I don't know. I just wanted to try it a different way. So yeah, that's how I've done it. There are photos on my blog of how, how I've extended this cartridge slot. Don't know if you'll be able to see. It's all quite compressed in there. That's what happens with the tuck under sort of method. But yeah, this is as far back as possible. And yeah, it seems to work exactly the same way as everybody else's. Well, it looks like it should work exactly the same way. Can't see why it wouldn't. Just putting connectors on rather than hard soldering. So yeah, there you go. One issue I did have is the choke. On my case here you can see it's slightly cracked because I scraped away the insides and that to try to give it a lot of clearance. Here you can see the buttons that have been moved, but it also made this area fairly thin, and the chokes have got a very hard plastic edge to them, and there's obviously no give in that. So when I was closing the case over, it basically just pushed through there and cracked it. So I've repaired it, but there's still a crack still visible, but it's mine, so I'm really happy with it as it is. But what I've done to try to alleviate the pressure on the case is I've desoldered the choke. What I did, I know, as you can see, I've lay it on its side to lower the height and wrapped it with electrical tape so it wouldn't contact anything. I mean, this 32X is dead. There was a pointless kind of process, but I wanted to do it correctly. I originally desoldered it and soldered it underneath the board, but then it made a pillar pressing against the motherboard here, and this would not get any lower, so putting it on its side and on the top gives a little bit of flex. As from what I can tell, that's the only way that all the other mods can work, because this is a Megadrive 2 case and this apparently all fits in. There's got to be some sort of pressure going on these wings. So yeah, that's my Neptune. It's non-working. The Megadrive works, and this cartridge slot repositioning works. I tested it with some games before then just wiring these AV ports up. And they are just wired up for look really at the minute. When I get a 32X I will rewire them to make sure the video works, but at the minute I can't test it, so it's just holding everything into place. So yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. I'm not gabbled on for too long. Just the processes, the things you have to do to the insides of the Megadrive 2 to make a replica case fit. So yeah, on to the next section or end of video. I'm not sure I'm doing this in parts, but there you go.